try now. Are you testing, 1, 2, 3? Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, can you guys still not hear? Right now, like if I'm talking right here, can you hear? Yes. Okay, we're gonna do this. Okay, let's do that. Alrighty, apologies everyone for the delay. A little bit of technical issues. We had some cables break and other stuff, and the room's weird. So, but anyway, are we? Still having technical difficulties. Best joke. Huh? Dude, I don't even remember. My best coding joke was just the word angular. Yeah, stellar. All the React devs love that. Everyone else, not that funny. How's everyone's like? How's everyone's classes going? Going well? Yeah. Are we good, Alex? Alex, just drop the video. Just click hide on the video. On the loop where it says starting soon, just drop that. I can actually do it here. Never mind. I'll do it. It's all good. And oh wait, where's your camera? Turn on your camera, Alex. Oh. Is the camera turned on? Is the preview screen on? Aiden? Okay, no, that's because it's not on. You have to turn the camera on. Chat, I hope you're enjoying the wonderful audio experience, audio workshop. This is why the tech officer doesn't do workshops. We need more tech videos. Okay, alrighty. I think we are finally ready to start. Sorry, everyone, about some of the technical difficulties we had. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So if you didn't know, this is the How to Technical Interview Workshop. Basically, we're going to talk a little bit about technical interviews, good practices for prep, just kind of getting ready for them, good practices for during the interview, and then after as well. Before we get started, if you aren't already, you should definitely sign up to be a member of ACM. It's totally free. There's no commitment or anything like that. You can register at go.acmutsa.org/join. Is all you have to do is attend 9 events in the spring semester to get like full membership. Go to our banquet. It's a good time. Definitely recommend it. And then also it makes you eligible for like giveaways, free swag, all sorts of cool stuff. You can sign up on the QR code up on the top right, and you can check into this event on the bottom left one. So I'll give you all a moment to do that. Okay. Yeah, so as I said, this is technical interviewing workshop. A little bit about my experience with technical interviewing. I actually do it professionally. So I'm a technical interviewer at, well, we call ourselves interview engineers at Carrot. I've conducted interviews with a ton of our partners, such as Roblox, Indeed, Wish.com, a bunch of others, too many to count. Also they're in like a variety of different formats because they're across such a different kind of range of companies. each company you'll find often in technical interviews is looking for different things. So they'll have like different kinds of questions and whatnot, depending on the role. But I guess the first question is kind of, what is a technical interview? So I'm sure most of you know, but if you aren't, generally technical interviews are comprised of something like, some coding questions, some project discussion, technical questions, more so like kind of Q&A type stuff, less writing code. It's actually really interesting. Technical interviews specifically are very unique, like the way they work to computer science and related degrees, just because they're not necessarily a test of what you'll actually be doing on the job, which is very different. So technical interviewing is almost, in a way, a skill of its own. So there are a few things that might come to mind when you think of a technical interview, such as like leak code-esque questions, project discussions, technical questions, that kind of stuff. Very broad, general. A lot of interviews you go into will have either all of these or at least like 2 of them. So that's kind of what you would think like as you're preparing for one of those. But I think a better way of looking at technical interviews is actually breaking it down into 3 steps instead of trying to target each kind of thing that some interview might throw at you. So I like to think of it as breaking it down into before the interview, during the interview, and after the interview. And I think this way allows like a lot less stress when it comes to the interviewing process, and allows you to be like more kind of generally prepared, no matter what the interview throws at you. So first, let's talk a little bit about before the interview, also known as kind of the prep phase. So these are some things that I would definitely recommend doing and that have helped me in the past, and I've seen help candidates when it comes to practicing for interviews or preparing for them. So obviously we have like leak code stuff. We're going to get to that though. It's good, but you have to be careful. You have research. So like look into information about the company, the role. Why are you excited about it? Why do you want to do it? Being able to talk about that kind of stuff is super important. We also have portfolio development. So if you have some projects you've worked on, especially outside of school, stuff that shows that you have the, skills to make like entire projects, work as a team, that kind of stuff, that's always great to see. Also, obviously, we have getting your resume updated or made if you don't have one yet. That's the best way to get in the door and just get to the interview in the first place. And then lastly, we have doing practice interviews. And there's a bunch of more things you can do, but I'm going to kind of focus on these 5 things. So starting with leak code. Now, I think leak code is generally like the most popular way that people prepare for interviews. Generally, they will just like grind out leak code. I know there's people who are like, I'm doing leak code 2 hours a day prepping for this interview. Like they're going, crazy. But I think you have to be very careful when prepping with leak code. So some things that you should generally practice for those kind of interviews. You don't have to get like super advanced or specific or know how to solve literally like every question under the sun. So the things I would recommend just kind of having in mind, data structures. You don't even have to go like super crazy. Just know some stuff like graphs, linked lists, that kind of stuff. We have like some basic algorithm stuff. We have like DFS and BFS, sorting, those kind of things. Nothing too crazy. You don't want to like burn yourself out knowing every like algorithm under the sun and rolling in and being like a living Wikipedia article. You're just going to burn yourself out. And then also, try definitely doing some of these questions, with common like kind of interview problems. You can see them on LeetCode. A lot of companies will have very similar questions to the ones on LeetCode. They won't be exact clones that you can't just like roll in and already know the solution, but they will be similar. But when doing LeetCode, I think there's like one thing that you really have to keep in mind, and it's seriously don't burn yourself out. Doing LeetCode 2 hours a day is going to make you worse at interviews. I genuinely believe that. For some people it works. For most, I don't think it does. You're supposed to have knowledge, but you don't have to have like literally every coding question memorized. You're going to burn yourself out, so don't do it. So let's talk a little bit more about research. So the research part is essentially having some information about the company, stuff that you're able to integrate into your conversation with the interviewer. And it can go a long way in giving like a good first impression and showing that you are a good candidate for the job, internship, whatever you're going for. So as I said, target the company and role you want. Have some stuff to talk about. Obviously you want to talk about your accomplishments and stuff, but it's also a really good thing to ask questions and be engaging and talk about the company and stuff. And they might also ask you questions like, why do you want to work here? What are you excited about in tech? That kind of stuff. So it's really good to be ready for those questions. And that really targets just being conversational, being a good communicator, talking with the interviewer, essential skills when you're working at a company. Let's talk a little bit about portfolio development. So portfolio development is basically just having projects you've worked on. Super simple. This should be like the most fun one to do. If you like software development, which I would, or whatever you're going into, back end, what have you, I would highly recommend having a portfolio. Hopefully it's something fun that you enjoyed working on, that you're passionate about, you can talk about a lot. Super cool. And it's basically, also known as just building cool stuff. Also, building your resume is also super important. That's the only way to get in the door. I'm sure if most of you have heard of it, but if not, there's this thing called ATS. It's the applicant tracking system. I would recommend it's basically like an automated system that scans your resume, tries to check if you're a good fit for the job. There's some very specific guidelines you're supposed to follow, though, to make sure your resume is good for the applicant tracking system. If it's not, you won't get into any interviews. If the formatting is like way too complicated for the machine to read, it's gonna be a really tough time getting into interviews because a lot of these jobs will get literally thousands of applicants. They don't have time to have a person actually look through each of those resumes. So be ready for that. Some tips on how to help with that. You want your resume to be well made, up to have like all different jobs. So maybe if you are a couple years into your college degree and you last updated your resume your freshman year, you might want to go ahead and update again with some of the stuff you did. I'm sure you guys have done cool stuff. You all are talented. You definitely have some stuff you can throw on there. You also want, as I said, to be ready for ATS. So make use of the on-campus resources. There's the Career Center. They offer resume reviews. They can also run your resume through ATS to make sure that it's like up to speed and that machines will be able to read it. Some really talented people have really bad resumes or just resumes that just aren't formatted well. These Career Center folks, they know their stuff. They're a great, great resource to use when making a resume and just make sure it's up to board. They have experience with it. Definitely check it out. And then also you can just like ask people professors, anyone to just like review your resume, provide feedback just on things they think you should add, stuff like that. Generally, they might know you a bit better than the Career Center people, so they will be able to like kind of provide like maybe some personal experiences that you've worked on that should be on there that you might just gloss over. But last but not least, do practice interviews. If you can find someone to conduct a practice interview with, I would definitely recommend it. There are scripts online, so even if that person doesn't have any experience doing like technical interviews, they can just follow the script, work with you on it. It's a great way to be ready for those situations and basically just be prepared, because why wouldn't you want to be prepared? But seriously, final note on all this prep stuff. Don't burn yourself out. Over-prepping absolutely exists. You can leak code yourself to death. Don't do it. It will just lead to burnout incredibly quickly. And interviewing is already a stressful process, so I just be careful. And also just keep in mind, you've got this. You all are talented people. You can totally do this. It can definitely be difficult getting a rejection, but it's that company's loss. And I'm sure you're going to find a excellent company to work with. But kind of continuing on out of the prep phase. So now you're prepared, you're ready to go. You feel like you have some resources, some research you've done, your resume is good, you've talked with people, you've done practice interviews, you're ready to go, you're applying to positions. So let's talk about during the interview, which in some ways is the most stressful part. So let's do this. So first, when you roll into the interview, be personable. While a large part of the technical interviews are like coding, that kind of stuff, kind of like very analytically being able to see basically, do you know how to code? It's also important to have communication skills and talk and be able to collaborate and that kind of thing. And a lot of the times, keep in mind, the interviewer is on your team. They want to see you succeed. They don't think of it like an exam necessarily. You're working together, and just proving what you know. So some things to talk about are, any past experience you have, the stuff you did in prep when you were talking with the Career Center or people or doing those practice interviews. Use that stuff. Super useful. It is stuff that does get marked out in interviews. It is stuff that companies take into account. Highly recommend it. And then also, if it's appropriate, kind of gauge the situation. Talk about why you're excited for the role. Use that research that you did and just be yourself. There's also the technical stuff. So obviously we're going to have some programming questions, kind of leak code-esque things. And then also obviously we have like the more behavioral stuff, but we'll talk about that in a second. So we have technical questions, which are going to be like basically Q&A questions. They might be like, you're running into this issue with a server. Here's a graph of its utilization. What might be some issues that you're seeing here? What might be causing this? Stuff like that. Just very general, broad kind of scenarios. And then also we have project discussion. Basically, you're just going to want to talk about one of those awesome projects that you worked on, one of those cool things you built. That should be super easy. Hopefully it's something you're passionate about, that you're excited to talk about. So won't go into too much detail on that. And then sometimes you also have like kind of whiteboard stuff where maybe you're supposed to write some code on board, draw something out. I find that those are becoming a bit more rare than the other three, but you may still run into them sometimes. And then also, obviously, we have like kind of more behavioral stuff, so like your problem solving abilities, basically your ability to look at a problem, sit down, say, okay, let's break this into a bunch of different pieces. Let's solve each of those pieces, and then how do we connect them all together? And also there's obviously, as I've said, your communication and collaboration skills. Super important stuff. You do want to, give a good first impression. Part of what you're doing in that interview is just checking if you're a good fit for the company to work with the teams there. So, be yourself, talk to people. And then go. Some other things to know. Be engaged. I know I've said it, I sound like a broken record, but seriously, be engaged, talk to people. You want to talk to the interviewer, you're not a robot, talk to them. And then also ask questions. If you don't understand something about the programming problem, most interviewers will essentially not actually give you an answer to the problem. So just ask if it's something that you can ask. If you're confused about one of the problems, you not necessarily are not able to ask any questions at all. That's definitely not the case. And then also don't undersell yourself. It can be easy to underestimate like what your abilities are and stuff. So feel free to just talk to people, and tell them what you've done. And above all, stay calm. Interviews are stressful. It can be a lot. Just stay calm. You got this. You can do it. All righty. And then moving on to kind of the afterwards part of the interview. So you've now wrapped it up. You've done the interview. You're maybe not sure how it went, but it's over. You did it. Nothing you can change now, and you did your best. So let's talk about some things that you do after the interview to help you in your next one, or maybe won't have to do another one because you aced that one and you got the job. So obviously you don't want to stress out over like how you did in the interview. It can be very easy to think like, oh, I could have done this better. I should have improved on this. Use those like kind of thoughts constructively. So reflect on areas where you would like to improve. Maybe, you read through the problem too quickly, you weren't thinking, and now you're like, whoa, I totally knew how to solve that. I'm an idiot. I should have done it. You're not. It happens. Interviews are stressful. Everyone gets it. It's easy to jump over a part of like some really obscure spec on how to solve a question. And reflect on the things you did well and what you want to like continue to kind of like exaggerate and present. So if you thought you were a really effective communicator, make sure to keep that up on the next one. You don't want to basically replace how you did with the coding, and then on your next interview do really well in the coding but not communicate at all, or not explain a project well, something like that. You really want to stay on top of it. You want to talk to people, and just make sure that you're being yourself, basically. It's very easy to be a robot in interviews. You all got the... Yeah, I think that is about it. But if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. As I said, I have a lot of experience doing technical interviews, so literally anything. Also in chat as well.
No questions in chat so far.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, I will give chat a few more minutes. But if you don't have any questions, thank you all so much for coming. I will get the link for check-in again on the screen. If I can find it, it's one of these slides. Here we go. Yeah, if you haven't checked in yet, definitely check in. It's free. Just do it, no obligation, that kind of thing. Yeah, thank you all so much for attending. Oh, Annalisa has a question. What's a good one? I mean, it kind of depends on the person to person. For behavioral ones, I know that really the big thing is some people are like incredibly, shockingly brief in their answers. So it's like, what's a project you worked on? I worked on a blogging website. Okay, what did you use to do it? React. What was your favorite thing about it? Developing it. Like stuff like that. Like talk. You have things to say, especially on that. Like the project discussion. It should be something you're passionate about. People want to hear about it. Most people just want to hear about the cool project you built. So actually, like seriously, talk to people. That's something I hear a lot, where it's just like the interviewer has to ask a question every 10 seconds in order to basically get an answer out of someone. Anyone else? Yeah, what's up?
You can be like too honest, right? Like it's like saying too much.
Oh, for sure. I mean, so you do want to be yourself, but obviously it's like a professional setting. Right. So definitely keep that in mind. But don't be afraid to you don't want to roll in and be like, I mastered everything. I killed, this project was easy, didn't hit any roadblocks, super easy. Talk about the challenges you faced and how you resolved them. As I said, problem solving is incredibly important. So, showing that you know how to, kind of be self-sufficient in some ways is super important. So obviously, there's some level of being too honest, but I think all of you, that's part of the communication skills thing, is kind of trying to having the ability to gauge where that line might be.
Hey, Liam, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question was, you can be too honest though, essentially, can you be too honest when you're answering those questions, which is absolutely yes. But I think the line is often further than where some people think it is, where they then just don't share any details about how the project went. Yeah.
What would I do if I don't know how to answer the question?
Well, if you want a clarifying question, ask, if there's something you're confused about the question or something, I would absolutely ask if they are able to explain what they mean by that sort of, or what they're looking for. But if it's a very straightforward question, what is, I don't know, multi-threading or something, you will, if you don't know it, they're probably not going to be able to explain it in any more depth. And you're just going to have to just say, yeah, I don't know. And that's also totally okay. It's okay not to know everything. Interviews get it. I know there's been times where I've been in interviews that I don't know something, and just say you don't know. It's perfectly fine not to know something. Just answer what you can.
So I had a question. So you said to be careful when using something like LeetCode. Are there any other really good resources that you have for practicing or learning coding stuff?
Yes. The question is, I know all you can hear, but for the people online, the question was basically, what are some other good resources other than LeetCode for kind of practicing coding and kind of interview skills, right? So as I said, practice interviews are super important. Find someone you can practice interview with. I know the Career Center does practice interviews, whether for technical interviews, I don't know. Someone should definitely ask that. But I mean, even then, it still might be good just to go in there and do an interview, even if it's like more of a behavioral one, just to kind of see what it's like if you haven't been in a technical interview yet. Other resources, as I said, project building, super important stuff. Be like kind of ready to like basically have knowledge. By doing a project, you'll have knowledge in like a bunch of different areas because it's difficult to build a project only knowing about one specific thing. So that's a really good way to just kind of be ready for whatever question they might throw at you. Attend hackathons. That's like kind of a blown up version of a technical interview in a way where you're presented with maybe a problem you have to solve or like a certain theme, and then you're kind of breaking that down into pieces and solving it over those 24 hours. If you really think about it, a coding question is just a condensed version of that, maybe with more algorithms. And then algorithm stuff, LeetCode's a really good website. There's a few more like it that don't come to the top of my mind, but they do exist. Look through them. And as I said, though, be careful with LeetCode. It can come back to bite you. Yeah, you want to be careful with that. Anyone else?
I have another question.
Yeah.
Whenever they ask you, like at the end, do you have any questions for me? Do you personally have like some better responses, or is it really just like you don't really have to ask anything at all?
So essentially, in the way of like, so like essentially, like, what are good questions for the interviewee to ask the interviewer? Yeah, I mean, so definitely in my case, it's a little bit different because I am a contracted interviewer. So obviously I can only talk so much about like the companies we partner with, like Roblox, Wish, those kind of things. There's only so much that I can say or know about them. I haven't worked at those companies. But we also interview people to work at Carrot. And in those cases, a lot of the things that I like to hear and super happy to explain, what is the process like working at the company? What's like the environment and stuff? How does, what kind of hours do you have to work? What skills are useful to have? What kind of things do you do? Those kind of things. Just wanting to know more about the job. It shows that you're engaged. It shows that you're interested. And I think almost any interviewer, worth their salt is going to be more than happy to answer those kind of questions. Yeah.
Are there any cool like organizations we could join on campus?
That is a good point. I forgot to mention ICPC, wicked good resource for learning how to do LeetCode type stuff. And also, I don't think, as someone who has attended ICPC a lot in the past, I think ICPC, by having like the group environment, it's a lot more fun. It's not just like sitting in front of a computer and just like grinding out questions for hours on end. That is like a really good way to practice LeetCode-esque questions without getting burnt out. And that is every Sunday from 11 to 2. So definitely would recommend checking that out. It is a awesome sub-org under ACM. Yeah, 11 to 2, 11 to 2. They have free food. I know a lot of people like that. So yeah, let's see. Where can I find are you able to share some links here? You mentioned all the talk. So like I can't share, the question was, where can I find the technical interviews? Are you able to share some links here? So I don't have any like actual links to interviews I've conducted that I can share because those are private. Basically, I can't share that data with you guys, can't talk about candidates. And I don't think a lot of you would want like your interviews shared out to a bunch of people. So yeah, we, take a lot of, what's the word? Starts with a C, confidentiality when it comes to interviews. But there are a lot of really excellent, like basically mock interviews on YouTube that have both a candidate and someone taking the interview. Those are great resources. Definitely check them out. And they're super easy to find. I won't even link to them because you can literally just Google mock technical interview. And especially if it's like a well-known company, you can probably put the company's name in the title, and someone has basically duplicated the kind of interview style that that company uses. So definitely try that out. Anyone else? Alrighty. Well, thank you all so much, as I said, for attending. Make sure to go ahead and check in. Yeah, thank you all.